Hey guys, Brian here. Welcome back to the shop. There's nothing to do to fix this except just tear into it and do it. So what I found here is I can take this first panel off. And in front of the gearbox, it's not too bad. The only thing sticking through it's the two shift levers and the spindle in and out. And they all just tab into slots. So in order to get it off, first thing you gotta do is pull the hand wheel shaft out. So I took the wheel and the collars and the bearing and everything off, and then yank the shaft out. And after you do that, the panel just lifts off the side, not too bad. I was able to find the instructions on that in an operator's manual, where it talks about going in here and adjusting the preload on the spindle bearings, which probably needs done on this machine. According to the manual, it says to set them up at 5 pounds, 19 inches out from the spindle for the torque. And I would say this thing is, it's like maybe 1 pound and a foot right now. So it's got some wear. I'll try and get you closer here and I'll show you what we got going inside. I'll get you down where hopefully you can see there. So this headstock's got all herringbone gears in it, which are difficult to replicate. It takes special machinery to cut these, but they're a good style of gear because there's no thrust. It's all counterbalanced out, so it makes them nice and smooth. But I should have made this one here, this high-speed gear all the way up on top. I should have made it full width because it's got some wear on it. You can see it's starting to spall. If it shows up on camera, but that very top one, you can see that sandblasted looking face on the back side of it where it's fatigued and starting to pop off, or it's had a lot of trash run through it, one or the other. Could be low quality oil or maybe not enough oil. This is as high up in the headstock as it goes pretty much, and there's no oil system over top of that, so it's just oiled from the herringbone gears, it appears to me. But anyway, back up inside there you can see the wicks and the copper tubes. Some people suggested changing that system out, but there's one here. There's several of them in here. One advantage that gives is it does filter the oil somewhat before it goes in, because there's no oil filter on here, and there's lots of gears and moving components in here to put metal into it, so that helps to keep the metal out using the wicking system. Or you could go to an entirely external setup. But I kind of like the automatic stuff because you don't forget to do it that way. The external stuff requires that you remember to do it and that you don't take shortcuts. And that's always not the best way to do it. Stuff that's automated gets done. Stuff that's not automated most of the time gets done, but there's always those times it gets forgot about. So I prefer to have it where it can't be forgot about. Although alternatively I could put a manifold in here and drill and tap that main pipe and put a bezier setup where I can meter the oil instead of using wicks. It might work too, but just have to see how the availability is on this wicking material. According to the manual, it's 1/8 wire cord. I see Gets still lists it, or they list a 1/8 wire cord. I don't know if it's the same stuff or not. I got an email into them checking in on it. Tried calling, but nobody answers the phone. Pretty typical. So there's the bearing there that needs adjusting. Might try to do that. Otherwise, this headstock needs a lot of cleaning out. I've got a lot of dirt and sediment in here I'd like to get rid of while I got this cover off here. So you can tell this is power comes in here. This is low speed. gear reduces to here, then it's splined to the shaft. It's in low right now with this big collar, and that puts it to this pinion, and that pinion drives the bull gear, which turns the spindle. When it goes to high speed, this disengages and it locks that one on top to the shaft. Then it's overdriven. Little big gear turn the little gear to speed this up, and then it turns the bull gear to get the higher speeds. Obviously it's been running that a lot more than it has the low, because the low gears don't look bad. Plus it'd be more load on that high speed side. More load and faster turning, probably slings more oil off. So I might need to see if I can run another, it might run an oil pipe over top of that and just let oil drip down onto it. Would probably be a good idea to add to this. I don't see where it would hurt anything having a little extra oil on it. It would give it a positive place to come from onto the top, and then it can just come down to the bottom. Another factor here could be is I believe this gear is supposed to pick the oil up and carry it up to all the rest of this gear train. But the manual, unless you have the manual, there's an oil fill line. You got the glass here with the oil fill line. Most machines, you fill them with it off. This machine here, the oil is based with it on and running. So you have to have the spindle engaged and fill it up to that oil level, otherwise it doesn't have enough oil in it. So if you've read the manual, you know. If you haven't, you could easily be fooled into running it with not enough oil in it, because you'd say, well, it's full until you start it, and then it's not. So around here on the back side of this one access plate, I was able to look through the parts book and figure out that there wasn't actually anything attached to it. They just had it silicone welded onto the back. So after some beating, I was able to get it loose off there. But you can see there's a big cast bulkhead in there, so it doesn't gain me a lot. You can get to one oil tube. So there's still 3 more that I can't access from here. So looks like it is going to be the case of having to pull the gear train off the side, which means I got to take part of this off the back because it splits right here. So I guess that's what I'm going to say. I got to pull all that off in order to get that side piece off. So I guess I just well start wrenching and get that off, and I'll bring you back. Need to get in there and clean all that headstock out anyway. There's a lot of dirt. Let's see how dark it is. It should be that bright shiny red. It's all full of sediment, so I just will clean all that out before I start running this thing. And should last longer if it's clean. Well, I'd have to say that was surprisingly painless, actually. I was able to unbolt the cover on the back and access the gears here on the tail end of this, which is just some kind of reduction setup, but the cover bolts this half and the other half together. So I got that loose and took all the bolts off the side and lifted this thing off. One thing about doing this now is it does give me a good chance to clean everything and inspect it. Be sure I don't have any bearings going out. And everything looks pretty good. Feels pretty smooth. This is all the feed mechanism. So the power comes in here, and then that's all your different feed rates for the spindle. And this is hooked onto the lock mechanism. And this down here is your actual feed in and out on the spindle. So that's what operates it. So it's all pretty much just swung, splashed, lubed. But over the years, it doesn't appear to have done too bad. None of these teeth are really chewed up or anything. So I'm satisfied with that. It looks pretty good. Still need to do a lot of cleaning on it. And over here on this side, we've got everything opened up. This is the spindle speeds back here. This is where the in-out drive comes, and this is the selector for whether it's either driving the main spindle in and out or the secondary spindle, which is underneath here. This is a secondary spindle lock. That's the one I need to be careful of. When somebody put this together previously, they didn't have this lined up and they smashed the teeth. They used the bolts to draw it together, which is always a no-no. Never use bolts to pull anything together. If it won't go up, then something's not right and you need to figure that out. But other than that, everything in here looks pretty decent. I did notice there's a fair amount of copper shavings back in here. This oil pipe may not be bent out far enough to get on top of the shaft over here, so when I put this back I need to look up through here and be sure, and I may need to bend this over some to get it running down on the shaft to provide lube for it. I think I will start this up once I get part of it put back together, just to be sure that everything's oiling like I want it to. And I think I'm going to have to pull these shift shafts out up here in the top in order to be able to get my hand up in there in the back to those wicks to replace them, because my hand's too big to fit in there right now. But if I pull these two shafts, or maybe if I pull these two, I gotta knock pipe plug or knock drive out plugs out of the front of the head to slide them forwards enough to get them out, plus take this apart. I think maybe if I can get this pin pulled out of here, I can slide these two shafts forwards. There's enough room in the headstock. I can get this off, then it'll give me enough room to get my hand up in there. Or maybe I can just find somebody with real small hands and they can do it for me. Guess that's what you need kids for, right? So as far as the gear sets go, most of your fine selections are done up here on the front end where it comes from the electric motor power. Then it drives into the spindle. When it's in high gear, like right now, this shaft is splined together and it turns straight through. And then when it goes to low gear, this uncouples these two gears, couples this one to the shaft in the same operation, and then power comes through here onto this counter shaft and then back down, and that gives you a deep reduction. The helical on, or the herringbone gears on it look really good, but these straight cuts have got some wear. Again, it could be this thing's been run low on oil and it wasn't getting sufficient splash up there, or I may need to see if I can get a pipe over here to run oil on top of that. I don't see what that would hurt, just to feed a little out on there as a more directed lubrication. Probably it's just a matter of not using good quality oil in here. If they'd used a good oil, I think it probably would have been fine. It doesn't take a whole lot. There's not a lot of stress on this, I wouldn't imagine, because this reduction's pretty steep over here. This point from here down to here. I'd have to do the tooth counts, but it's probably in the 200 to 1 reduction range or something, maybe. I mean, I guess it's turning 1750 probably coming in, and you're talking the highest it turns going out is 450. So, but on the low side it's turning 7.5. So close to 200. Also, I found some of this this nut here is loose on the shaft, so I'm thinking I should probably tighten that up on this bearing. This is the rear bearing for the sub spindle. And we've got the big precision class bearing down there in the bottom. It's the expensive ball bearing that's on the outside of the sub spindle. That's the double taper in the front that needs to be tightened up to set the spindle preload on the bearings. So I can do all that while I'm here and clean all that yuckus out. There's all kinds of crud in there. It needs to be cleaned up. It's one of the things about using the non-detergent oils. All the dirt stays in the machine forever. It never washes out. I kind of think maybe I would run detergent oil in this and just put a filter on it. We'll see what that would hurt. Not really sure what machine tool builders back in the day had against filters on their oil setups, why they didn't incorporate them. I mean, it's technology on tractors that existed back clear in the 30s and 40s. You would thought that on a multi, $100,000 machine tool back in 1940 something, they could have put a filter in it and caught all this stuff instead of just having it circulate all through the machine all the time. But that's what they did, and I guess it wasn't too terribly bad, because it is, after all, 7 years later and it's still here working. So might be looking for a fix to a problem that doesn't exist. Anyway, so that's all I got on this. I'm just going to do a bunch of cleaning, and then it's a matter of waiting for somebody to get back in contact with me, of all the people I contacted about wicking for this thing, to see if I can get the stuff that belongs for it, or if I just need to go to Michael's Crafts and pick up some pipe cleaners and just jam them in the holes and say that works good enough. I don't know how well that stuff wicks oil. I don't think that's what it's intended for, but maybe it works. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll catch y'all later.